Hey y'all, so this is a follow-up video I promised you about where I went over my discussion with the ATC and some issues that I had, some problems I think you're going to have with it. So let's go ahead and dive right in back where we were in the previous video that I've previously recorded. We're going to talk about what the ATC answered in my questions to them. So let's get to it. So my follow-up with the ATC, I'd asked them some questions about the Resiliency Fund. And one of the things was about facilitating work trips. So I asked them about what that means. They're facilitating work trips, and we've already talked about that they coming out of the Resiliency Fund is paying for pro arborists to come in and pro sawyers to come in, as well as paying room and board for volunteer sawyers from other clubs to come in and do that work. Disturbingly, I heard from a trail maintainer, a different club where there's a lot of damage, and I'm not going to say which one, but it's a trail maintainer that is higher up is pretty high up enough on the food chain where they ought to know that they had not heard from the ATC in regards to the Resiliency Fund and had not had any offers of sawyers coming in there. So it seems right now they're just concentrating around Damascus and the Mount Rogers area, and maybe that's their game plan is to head south. I found no information about what their game plan is, how they plan on spending the money. I did ask that question and was just given the answer that, well, we're working with the other clubs out there. But right there, this club maintainer says, or trail maintainer says, we haven't heard anything from them. So not sure where the disconnect is right there with the ATC and all the clubs, but I do know they are spending some of that money around the Damascus, Mount Rogers area. I did also hear from the ATC, and I asked them a question about, is this money going to be spent to pay payroll for all the ATC, their payroll that comes from all this plethora of people that are, and I'm sure most of them are great people, but is that money going to be spent to pay the payroll? And according to Caitlin, she said, nope, it's not going to be used to cover general operating or administrative expenses. So we're going to hear a little something different about that, but that's good that she said that. And then I asked, why would it be necessary for the ATC staff to come down and do assessments on trail conditions when the trail clubs are actually there week in and week out? They're the boots on the ground. Why are they not doing the trail assessments? And so I did get a good answer from them on that, and she indicated that in those sections that are closed, so really the only national forest that's closed now is the Pisgah, and I think they're just on a power trip or just being bullies. I don't know why they're still closed when Cherokee and Jefferson and others of those around them are open. But in any case, Caitlin said that the ATC can come in there and do assessments and walk the trail and look at stuff, because if somebody gets hurt, they're covered by insurance. If a section of forest is closed, volunteers cannot come in there because they're no longer covered by insurance policies that will be put in place either by the agreements they have with the National Forest Service or agreements that they have with the ATC. So if a section is closed, volunteer assessors cannot get in there, cannot go in at all for insurance reasons, but the ATC can. So all the more reason why Pisgah needs to get their button gear and get the place open so volunteers, if nobody else can get in there and make some assessments out there. I get it, keep it closed to people using it for public use because it's too dangerous. Not all of the Pisgah forest is too dangerous. Maybe the section that got bombed out is, but not all of it is. But in any case, they've just decided to close, with the exception, I think there's the grandfather district portions of it are open, but the part that's got the trail on it's not. She also said that our efforts include staff conducting trail and landscape damage assessment. Now listen to this, climate resilience analysis, remember that word, climate resilience analysis, or that phrase. Collaborating with and providing guidance to ATC clubs, organizing ATC trail crews, leading, training, and funding volunteer sawyer crews. And so, okay, so that organizing and leading and training, okay, so if you're using the ATC Resiliency Fund, that is coming out for general operating expenses to cover those. So maybe that's in addition to it. Maybe I'm being too critical. I don't know. Leave a comment down below if you think I'm being too critical there. But really the only issue I had there without doing a deep dive is the climate resilience analysis. So that just sounds like a big phrase for let's go spend a whole bunch of money on to analyze something that we wanted to do all along anyway. The climate is that's the buzzword now, the climate warming, and not going to get into discussion about whether or not the climate is warming or not. So we're not going to go there. So we're just not going to go there. But the hurricane coming through is not the only reason why you do a climate resilience analysis. So it sounds like they're taking some of this money and using it for something that they just didn't have the money for before, or they already were going to spend it. Now they got another place to get it and spend that money from that other pot somewhere else that they want to. So these analyses always take forever. Case in point, the Cherry Mountain analysis or the Cherry Mountain, Cherry Gap shelter analysis that they were supposed to do in order to remove that shelter that's destroyed now anyway and rebuild a new shelter that's been going on since COVID, and that's not come to a conclusion yet. So those analyses take years and they take a bunch of money. And so I don't think people gave to the ATC Resiliency Fund to do a study or a climate resilience analysis. Personally, this is just me personally, I think people gave to that fund to get the trail cleared, to give back to the communities, to help out the trail clubs with tools that they need to get in there, to help out with maybe even hostels out there recover, and trail towns recover. I don't think they gave it for a climate resilience analysis. And then she goes on to say certain trail alignments are more susceptible to damage than others. So now she's talking about trail realignments. For example, a steep fall line section or a section that parallels a stream bank in a floodplain. If we are to rebuild the AT as it was, we will likely have to do the same recovery work again after the next extreme weather event. We now have an opportunity to rebuild a more resilient, durable footpath, taking into account things like susceptibility to treadway erosion. So now they're talking about relocating and getting the ATC away from those stream banks we all like walking in here next to, and of course our water sources. The ATC's in a floodplain. I mean, sorry, there are places where it goes through that, and those are places we like. So you just can't relocate the treadway, and we don't want you to relocate. Okay. I haven't taken a survey out there. Maybe I'm the only one, and leave a comment down below if I'm an idiot and I'm all wet on this. But I'm not the only one that doesn't want the ATC to be relocated. Now, the steep fall line she's talking about, where the trail goes straight down or straight up, that's what she means by fall line. Yes, I'm okay building more switchbacks in the ATC, on the AT. There's plenty of times I've been hiking out there and went, dang, why would somebody not want to put a switchback in here somewhere? Maybe go up that way where it's a little easier to get around, but nope. So yes, I'm okay with that relocation, but I don't want it relocated lock, stock, and barrel away from stream banks and other stuff with that, and maybe I'm getting carried away here, but I don't know. Then she goes, beyond the footpath itself, Helene changed the ATC landscape, with some areas losing 90% of their tree cover. This means greater risk for wildfires, rapid encroachment from invasive species, overall a more fragile landscape. Climate resilient analysis involves ATC staff. Okay, so now we're talking about general administrative payroll and volunteers working with conservation experts who have to be hired to be more strategic about how the trail and the ATC landscape is rebuilt and healed, and then to implement those strategies from tread work to landscape level conservation. So all that tells me they're going to be relocating the trail in places that we don't know where they're reloading and don't have a say-so in it. So not real happy about that. I want to see more on that. And will we get any input in it, or is just stuff just going to be, and will the trail clubs have any input? And if they do, is the ATC going to pay a lick of attention to them? I don't know, but those are things that kind of strike a little fear into my heart. Leave a comment down below. I'd like to know what you got to say about the climate resilient analysis and relocating the trail. Folks, so that is my heartburn with the ATC. Hopefully those things are not going to come to pass where they're relocating the trailhead and we don't have any say-so in it. But you know how that goes with them. So I'm going to try to get some more information. They watch my channel, they watch this, and so they may shut me down after this. Appreciate the information that Caitlin has given me so far, and her higher-ups have allowed me to give that to you. I know she had to go ask that, and I don't always, let's just say, cast them in a gorgeous light. I try just to state facts, but sometimes I get a little, kind of show a little emotion about it because the trail means so much to me, and it means so much to the community, and because it means so much to the community, that means it doubly means so much to me. So, but hopefully they won't shut me down. They'll continue to answer my questions. Honestly, that's all we're looking for is honesty come out of them. So greatly appreciate that. Hats off to Caitlin for being able to do that. Folks, that's all I've got for this video. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.